Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. I'm absolutely delighted to be here with Sohail Zuberi, whose practice I've actually been following for several years. He may not know this, but it is true. And his practice is a commentary on Karachi's urban developments, its dichotomies, and its disparities. His ongoing research on on the changing ecologies of a small stretch of beach in Karachi, manifested in the solo show Archaeologies of Tomorrow in 2018. He was commissioned to produce work for the Karachi Biennale in 2017 and 2019. Sohail Zuberi is a multidisciplinary artist based in Karachi. In addition to his artistic practice, he served as the head of the communication design department at the Indus Valley School of Architecture and has taught design, fine art and photography at the University of Karachi and the Textile Institute of Pakistan. Very interesting. He also guest lectured, Eindhoven Design Academy in the Netherlands. He is a former trustee of Vasl Artists Collective, a former board member of the Pakistan Shaw Cultural Center, and was a core team member of Numaish Karachi. He has attended numerous international residencies, workshops, and conferences across the globe. And he was part of the Ajam Media Collective's residency at the second iteration of the Lahore Biennale in 2020. And he was the curator for the UP International Public Art Festival. And I'm really looking forward to speaking to you about this in particular, actually. Mm-hmm. And he works as a design consultant with Tali, a contemporary craft design brand, which he spoke about a little bit earlier. And I thought we'd sort of get right into it and right into the crux of it. I find your journey to what has sort of encapsulated you right now, sort of, enamored you in a sense, very interesting, because you have also worked as a design academic, and even with Tali, it's a design brand, so you have that entire part of your practice going on. Yet at the same time, your current body of work is very much about ecologies, about changing urban structures and the changing urban fabric of Karachi, the city where you live. And I wanted to sort of understand how you reached that point and how you've set about exploring this ecology and what is entirely so fascinating about that.
So, I personally don't think that one is kind of divorced from the other. It's all part of the same kind of all of this comes very naturally, because whether it's just the manifestation is different, whether it comes out as a teacher or as an art object or as a publication design, whatever it is, but the common thread remains the city that I was born in, and I've lived all my life here as well. And I was still, I was probably 18 or so, I was very much living in a bubble. And then I started exploring this whole idea of the flaneur, the wanderer. I would just walk around. And this is not a very friendly, walking friendly city.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Still did it. Continue to do it to date. And just by being anonymous, roaming around the streets and all, you just kind of keep taking it in. And to later, when with photography and all, I started documenting it. So I have been I've not shown that much of my photographic work, which I've been doing since the mid 90s. And Karachi is also, like many other places, I'm sure, around the world, that it is a place which is constantly in flux. I always say that we make, we break, we make again, we break again. So it's whatever picture you take, it becomes an archival image, potentially in a week's time, in a day's time even. When I was teaching full time at IVS, the route I took, it took me to this big roundabout which is called Punjab Chaurangi, and there used to be these massive billboards, like a 360-degree view of billboards and all sorts of advertising kind of wars happening with colas and lawns and charities and this and that. I would document all of that. And now there's an underpass there, like there's no hint of that roundabout now. So this is one
It's
very,
changed so
very small
drastically.
example. Yeah, so everything's just changing. So like all these images from the past, say 20, 25 years, they have really become sort of archival. And this is where like I, I have seen now for some, like I've become more preachy, maybe since like I'm aging or what, and like you know when your grandparents used to say this used to be like this and this used to be like that, I have become like that, and I'm constantly telling people this area used to be like this and I was there. It's not that long ago, but things have changed so much, and I've been kind of observing, but there are certain kind of constants that remain, and one being like the people of the city, like how they kind of interact with you, how they're like open to talk to you, uh,
And
all of that. That
how do they interact with you? Because I know that the people of Karachi are, super cool and also a little standoffish in a sense. Like they don't care that much about what you're up to. I'd love to hear from you how you felt that they have
so
interacted with you over the years.
since like you know if you bring out a camera in public, like I'm talking about the 90s, it would be like an event unto itself, like what are you doing, and like not in a bad way, but just like out of curiosity, it would like there would be many kind of eyes kind
Questions.
of, yeah, it would create a scene. But over the years, with the advent of like the mobile phone and all, it has become much more comfortable. But like I'm not talking about a certain class, I'm talking about the man on the street. Those people, like, you just have to like just the this interaction with the person on the street, you just start talking to them, like maybe over a cup of tea or just on the sort of the curbside, and they will really open up and tell you, you're not like not in a sort of an investigative or like a journalistic questioning kind of way, just a normal conversation like we are having right now. So it, like all these real stories come out, and that is where, although personally I don't take pictures of people, I I I take pictures of things that are kind of implying that people are here, but the actual, like in most of the images, the person is not, like I don't take portraits
You
and
take
just
photographs of the remnants also, almost, right? The remnants of what they've left behind.
yeah. So there is the presence. The presence is there without them being like present in the frame.
And is that just because you would prefer to focus on the objects left behind than the people? Or did you think that it would be problematic to include the individuals in the photographs? Like too many questions, or it becomes more
Yeah, I
difficult?
I think like on an ethical kind of from an ethical standpoint, I'm never 100% sure. Although I have taken pictures of people without them knowing, and that always kind of plays in my head. It's something that I don't think is right or ethical. And in the photographic practice also, I don't know how to kind of like there are people who come to you and ask you to take their pictures. That is also like people want to be kind of immortalized in an image, and that is something special. I think that also comes from like the past, where you would have a printed photograph and you would sort of pin it on the wall, or have it framed, and that is kind of making you, or would make you immortal of sorts. So some people do that, but like as an artist or as a photographer, I don't like seek out portraits from any kind of area. But yeah, so coming back to people, still people are, if you talk to them nicely, like on a normal kind of level, they really open up and like the stories, because that is what I'm kind of excavating or unearthing, the sort of the layers upon layers of stories that are there untold. They still remain, like millions of stories remain untold here. And there's still a lot to be kind of explored and told. Yeah.
And you were talking earlier about exploring certain aspects of Karachi and neighborhoods and sort of ever since you were 18. Is there a neighborhood that you've well, obviously there is the beach, but is there any other neighborhood that you felt a particular affinity with that you've enjoyed photographing, you've enjoyed looking through and archiving?
So I went to high school to this college called DJ College,
Okay.
which is right bang in the center of the city. It's like 150 years old or something now. It's a big imposing building. But the thing was that that was the first time when I entered sort of grade 11. That was the first time I sat in a public bus, and like I I put my foot down that I will go to, like, it's college, like 11 and 12, it's called college, the high school here. And I said I'm going to take the bus there. I had real difficulty. I would just go and the bus would park. I would just be sitting at the terminus waiting for it to go, and they say, yeah, it won't go from here. You have to take another bus. So after many trials and errors, I started, and I would be so sort of anxious. I would get off like way early. I didn't want to miss the stop, and then I had to walk like 20-25 minutes to the college. That is how I started kind of walking and exploring the city. So this is this area in Karachi called Burns Road and Pakistan
Okay.
Chowk. That area became like my second home. And
Wow.
then further extension to that is another place called Khori Garden, where they used to have like all these books on art and design. Most of my library is sort of from there. Like I must have got like 600 books over the years, and like good books.
So they're historic parts of the city as well.
That is. So
Yeah.
like now I know all the building, all the historical buildings. Like you give me the heritage list and I'll tell you exactly which building is where. And
Wow.
then after studying graphic design and all, that is also the hub of printing. Like all the
Okay.
printing and designing and paper market is there. So I continued going there. So that is the area, apart from like my like neighborhoods, that is the area which I'm most familiar with. It's also like all the sort of the traditional food street and all, like the first kind of food street in Karachi is also located there and all that. So the heritage, that's how I got interested in all the heritage buildings and all that. And I tell you a funny story. When I started photographing, the sort of the ground floor of those buildings is usually kind of tampered with, like they've altered it, they've made it new, and these shop signs are there. So subconsciously I would always tilt my camera up and
Okay.
and like cut that or negate that bottom part out to sort of romanticize it, that like it's really nice
That it's
tone.
untouched, yeah.
So, but slowly, I kind of understood the realities, and one should be showing the reality and how it is. And also understanding Karachi, it's not like a sort of a museum town like Bruges or some other sort of place, a small town in Europe. This is a place which is like really, really kind of developing fast. And as I said earlier, they make it and they break it. So then, like, it used to really hurt me in the heart, like they're breaking down this building or that building. But now I think it's what Karachi is.
It's
This is
part of the
how,
city. But they
yeah,
have preserved a lot of the very historic buildings. Is that not right?
yeah. I think,
Yeah.
and they should
Of course, they
for
must.
history's sake, they
Yeah.
should. But
But I do understand what you mean, that the sort of the ground floor of a building and the changes that have happened to it tell the city's story. They show the different dynasties, the different individuals who've come through those walls, past those grounds, and have made their own changes and left their imprint. It is quite important. It's like looking at various diary entries almost
exactly,
when you're
and
looking at
and
these walls.
I am also working on a project. I don't know when it will see the sort of the light of day, so to say. But like most of these buildings that I'm familiar with, especially in the Pakistan Chowk area, were were built by this merchant class, which migrated to India after 1947, and they were the sort of the educated middle class, which was like making good sort of living here, and they each even today in their sort of the cast iron balconies and all, their surnames or their family kind of crests are cast in iron there. They're still there, and
Wow.
so what happened was that they left. Obviously, they had built them with their heart and soul, and the entire family was living in this one big kind of structure. They left, and people from like the migrants who were coming here, they occupied them, and then like that area has seen this kind of sort of change in the sense that the initial people who came here were kind of like Nawabs and things like that, like people like that. Then like newer localities like Nazimabad and PCHS were made. So they shifted there. Then another lot came in. So now it's a very very different kind of demographic that occupies that those buildings. But the the people like for example my friends and all who go and appreciate those buildings, they're just appreciating the facade and the histories, the human histories that are kind of behind those walls are what I'm kind of interested in. And I've had a real chance encounter with this artist from India. She's unfortunately no more. She had come to Karachi, and her father her father had migrated as a 9-year-old from Karachi,
Okay.
and whatever he remembered, he had literally drawn a map of this area of Pakistan Chowk and to tell her this is where his house was. And I took her like at 5 in the morning, and
You
we
found
explored
it.
the area. All the buildings were there, like none of those buildings had been demolished, but we couldn't pinpoint exactly which building was it, but it was one of the ones that were there.
That's
So he
incredible.
and then he said like I remember my father, like this artist's grandfather, taking her father as a kid to on Sunday to this Iranian cafe, which I remember like when I was in DJ being there, but it's no longer there. So like there was a connection with these sort of locations also with it. So this is and then this entire area is kind of around this big open space which used to be called Ram Bagh, and then they built a mosque there, and they prefixed it with an A, so it became Aram Bagh. So it has like a lot of history. Like history goes back thousands and thousands of years to Ram and Sita, actually, and they're supposed to have camped in this on this very location after Lord Rama, rescued Sita from Lanka. They came here
So
apparently,
it's
and
very
they camped.
important.
Yeah, so it's like, and this used to have, I don't know what, this, when they celebrate Ram and they have this play, this ground used to have the biggest kind of theater play happening.
Do they still
So
do that or no?
no, it's no
Oh,
longer
sad.
there. So yeah. So anyway, we
Oh, but
should.
what a beautiful story.
Yeah, it's
And how
quite
fascinating. Thank you for sharing that.
close.
I was going to ask you now, how do you see yourself, your role as an artist, given your experiences, given your interests? Do you see it more as an archaeologist? Do you see it as a photographer? Do you see it as somebody who uncovers lost histories?
All of the
Or do you
above
think
to
it
some extent.
encapsulates, yeah, it encapsulates everything?
Yeah, I think like as an individual, I I'm kind of obsessed with documentation. Like, I just want everyone to document. And I'm really glad that because of Instagram, like how Karachi is being documented, every
It's
place,
true.
but Karachi, like since I look at Karachi, so, like in the past 5 years, I think in its entire history, there may not have been that many kind of images and documentation of everything that possible, like what people are wearing, what are they eating, where are they going, where are they eating, and what are they celebrating, what are they not celebrating, what makes them happy, sad, like
It's
all
true.
these
And the
things are
floods,
actually.
so many photographs of the floods, so many photographs of the rain.
Yeah, so like such solid like citizen journalist sort of
It's true.
documentation of all these things. So yeah, so these things, but like taking pictures, yes, that's very good. But what is behind that? Like that, what is the story behind that? That is also important, and it should be kind of written about so that like we actually build a strong archive. So
Is there
coming
an
back to your,
archive of the past, sort of old photo? I mean, I know there must be obviously, but have you accessed it? Do you feel it's adequate?
I I have accessed some images at the British Museum archive, but Sindh archive here has, I have been there like once or twice, but I've not been that kind of successful. I'm sure they have it, but we don't. I don't know if we have a national kind of archive where things are actually archived, like officially archived, but. Uh, you have these archives from the sort of the colonial period, and then there's a gap, and then like people have these, and I see like on Facebook and like other platforms, people start digging out some like from here and there, and then putting them up. But there is no one kind of source where you can access those
Amalgamate
things.
everything.
Yeah, so
But that's a
maybe.
project I think waiting to happen then.
Yeah, but
For
it's
some
it's a it's a
Karachiites to sort
project
of
for
delve
a group.
into.
It's a group
Yeah.
project, not an individual task to be taken on.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
so and so coming back to your maybe what has kept you interested over the last couple of years, the beach in Karachi. So, your interest goes even beyond the buildings, beyond all of those histories. And recently it's been on the
Mm.
stretch of beach. Can you talk to me a bit about that? How did you discover that stretch of beach that you began at? From what I understand, you took your dog there on walks, right? That's how you sort of
Yeah,
first
that
became
is
acquainted with it. Can you tell us where it is and a little bit of the story?
yes. So like I till September, end of September, I had two dogs. Now, September 25th, the main one died. Her name was
Oh, I'm
Daisy, and
sorry.
I'm really glad because one person who wrote in Friday Times mentioned their names right at the beginning. So I feel like their names have come in print, and I can always access them
They're
on the internet.
immortalized, yeah.
So the thing is, again, as Karachi is not a walking friendly city, it's not a dog friendly city either.
Yeah.
So it's very, very difficult. There are no dog parks. Like I can take the dog on a leash on the street, but to let them be out in the open. So I started exploring that area where the creek is, and it used to be all kind of open. Uh, Eventually, I found this particular stretch, which is like around 2.5 kilometers, and what the local municipality, which is DHA, has done, they still in the process of developing that area. It's called
Okay.
Sahil Beach, and they've put this wall in front, like a sea wall, and they don't really want people to access that beach. I'll come to that
Okay.
later. Why? But so there's this big wall, but nature and its doings on one side, like the wind has pushed sand so much that it has created these dunes. So it's very easy to kind of hop over from one side. Like it's
Mm.
a regular height is like 10 or 15 feet high, but at this place it becomes like a jump of a foot or two. So that, and it's also enclosed, so dogs can run free and all of that. So that's how I found that stretch. And the
So
great,
Daisy loved it, obviously.
yeah, and then Duke too. He's right here. You can, good boy.
Oh, he's a Labrador. I love
Yeah.
labs.
Daisy was a half lab and half Samoyed. He's a lab, but so since she died, he's totally kind of become too clingy. Like he's totally kind of attached to me. Anyway, so that this was in 2010. They were both born in 2009 and 2010. So it's been like 10 years since we've been going. So it became like from an outing, it became a ritual. Now it is a ritual. No matter how long the Saturday night is, Sunday morning I have to be at the beach, and the dogs also know that
They
Sunday.
expect it.
Yeah, they have this kind of clock running in their sort of head, and they know that it's a Sunday, and they're running around the car, so it's like all of that. So it started from there, and then like obviously out of habit I was photographing, and with two dogs to kind of watch over, and I was photographing with my phone, and like it slowly, like I developed this aesthetic of like taking pictures like quickly. I didn't have time to kind of
You didn't have
mull
time.
over mull over a composition and like sit and contemplate and think like so. Then like over like 10 years, it has become like a part of my practice, the way I take pictures also. So I was initially just documenting things, and most of the images you see are like top down, because I'm taking like on the beach, so they're all like that, like a lot of them. But at the same time, I started picking up these pieces of drift wood that was washing up. Some were really nice pieces, and I would come and stack them here. And at night, I would just kind of classify them. These are planks. These are more sort of more three-dimensional kind of pieces. I would just and there was always some form of human intervention, like whether they were nails put into them or there was paint on it or something or the other to, told me that, or told like us that it has gone through human hands one way or the other. But one or two pieces were so clearly from the boat that uh, what I started doing was I would collect a few pieces on, like if I'm too excited on the same Sunday after coming back from the beach. There's like this whole, like the eastern side of Karachi is dotted with these fishing villages. Ibrahim has the biggest one, and then you have these small ones all there. And they're boat building sort of workshops and all of that happening there.
Oh,
So I would
interesting.
take these pieces there, and they would be fascinated. They say, "This wood, we have not used this wood for like it's so expensive now, we don't use
Oh,
it anymore. This thing
wow.
was like the alternative is golden teak or this or that, and this is like real wood, and don't show it to anyone, they'll take it from you and things like that.
How
So then
sweet.
this whole thing kind of came together like full circle, because they were actually pieces of capsized boats, and
Mm.
it must have taken like first like so many memories in these pieces. Like first they were built by these craftsmen, like the boat builders, then painted by the painters, then the fishermen took them into the sea. I don't know how many
How
trips
many
they did.
journeys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they finally kind of succumbed and sank, and then the elements broke them apart, and then the sea started spewing them out one by one, piece by piece,
Wow.
literally. I was there to collect. So then in 2014, one of these April or May, like really, really windy day, and the sand is like everywhere, and I saw a big couch. You may
Oh.
have seen it like right at the opening page of the catalog also.
Hmm.
It's that image is there. And I could see it kind of getting buried in the sand in front of my eyes in real time. And that so I came home and I wanted to post it. As back then I was more Facebook than Instagram, so I wanted to post it on Facebook, and I was thinking like what to caption it, and I just came up with Archaeology of Tomorrow, because I thought that the
Ah.
people from like the future generations would be digging and they'll find these artifacts that this civilization was using. So that is how this whole Archaeologies of Tomorrow came
Oh,
about. So
wow.
after doing it for like this whole practice, I still do. So the first time I showed work was like 8 years into it. In 2018, that was
Hmm.
when the solo show happened, which was curated by Zermine Shah.
Did you find any other bits of furniture? Was the sort of sofa the only one?
Uh, I like I think last year, just before the lockdown, I found this and in on different parts of the beach, but it's like the captain's kind of chair, wooden and
Oh.
painted, and I found all the pieces, like the both the arm side, the back, and the seat itself, and I could match them by the paint color, because there's
That's
like the
so
yellow
cool.
splash going here and blue splash going there. So it's like I still have to kind of put it together. But
Hmm.
there's like many things, like things I really kind of get fascinated with are these chopping blocks that they use on the boats to maybe like make food, like cut vegetables and even fish and all that. And you know, the butcher's block, something like that. And when you keep chopping, it creates these lines. There's
Yeah.
beautiful drawings on all six sides of the cube. They're like really, and like the memories that each line kind of holds, and it's really kind of fascinating.
And the
Another,
lines are still there despite the water and the movement of
yeah,
the waves.
this
Wow.
water kind of rounds off the sides and all, but those lines are very much
Those
visible
etchings
and
still. How
very.
fascinating.
Then I think one of the most kind of interesting pieces that I found was a wooden block with like 4 inches by 6 inches, kind of very rectangular, very sharply cut and all that. Uh, and I just picked it up. I also have a sort of a backpack for smaller things. I just sort of put them in the backpack. I put it. Then after coming home, I wash everything with a brush. And when I took
Hmm.
this out, there was a edged metal plate on the other side, and it had kind of distorted, but I could see that it was some form of writing there. And then I started doing like the rubbing with the pencil, but couldn't really decipher anything. Then I went to the printing kind of studio, and I made a printout. It was part of the exhibition also. I made a printout, and one of the students who was helping me with it, and she said that this entire sort of ayat or chapter from the Quran called Al Kafirun, the unbelievers, and
Wow.
the last line of it, because for me, like, I'm looking at the beach, like I started looking at the beach as kind of this representative of the city itself, like all sorts of like different things, whether it's religious or party, drinking, fishing, economic activity, religious side, all of those were happening in this 2 kilometers stretch. So the last line of that sort of chapter says, "To you your religion, and to me my religion. So you do what you are doing, and I do what I am doing. So like, live and let live, basically."
Yeah.
That
It's such an important message, by the way, for
yeah, it
everybody.
was really like God sent. Really, I was like,
Yeah,
really
like you do what you're
quite
doing, I'm
happy.
doing. As long as we're not hurting each other and other people, just leave
Yeah.
as it be.
And that is a place, and I feel Karachi is to quite an extent like that everyone
It
is
is
kind of
indeed.
doing what they want. It's not ideal, but it has that as a positive, I would say. And that
Yeah, it's a
beach is,
cosmopolitan and and so many different kinds of people all coming together. I mean, it is an enormous city.
and that for me is the sort of the celebratory aspect of it, rather than kind
Definitely.
of focusing on the differences all the time. One should be celebrating the sort of the diversity of the place, and this beach is kind of rep- representing that, or it's all encompassing, basically. Like, people come, like I have talked with some 20-year-old from like a small town in Sindh who has come during summer holidays, and he's selling like chewing gums and like candies and all on the beach, and he says, "Okay, this is the time when people come, and once it's done, I'll look for another job or I'll go back home." So that opportunity is also there. So
It
this is
draws so many
another
people.
as
Yeah.
yeah. So it's a so that beach, and this Indian American academic architect Rahul Mehrotra, who talks about kinetic cities. So that also kind of inspired me, like how his main research is on Kumbh Mela, like this city of 7 million people, with 100 million people converging at this confluence of these two rivers every 12 years. How they build it and all that, and then it's completely kind of taken down with nothing, no remnants, nothing, because they don't dig foundations or anything. It's just bamboo and fabric and all that. So how they become active, and then like it all kind of goes away or taken down. Similarly, at this beach, when summer vacations happen, like all these families start coming, like there's lots and lots of crowds there. So next door is this more popular Seaview Beach, and there, like the camel guys and the horse riding people, they also, some of them spill over to this place, and then there's food and this happening. And as like August, September come, they all, like the crowds disappear, and with them all these people also disappear, and then we have like, so every
And the beach becomes your own once again, all
yeah, like
private.
exactly. So like then sometimes like it's so crowded, I can't let the dogs loose because there's so
You
many
know.
people there and all that. And then like last week, the entire beach was us. Entire beach, not a soul. And I always say, like, in a city of 20 million or so, having
Yeah.
a beach to yourself is like nothing,
What a
right?
beautiful opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
it's
I
right
wanted
here.
to ask you.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so it's
Please
that
go.
close. I
Yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to ask you the pieces that you've been picking up. Have any of them been like natural as well? Because I think I'm making this up, but I seem to remember another artwork of yours that I'd seen in person, which was pebble or rock based. Is that correct, or am I sort of forming that memory on my own?
I think you're
Forming it on
forming,
my own.
or maybe the work I did, like with the photo transfers on concrete. Are you mixing it up with those, or
No, then I'm just making this up. It doesn't matter. And
yeah?
tell me, how has your work evolved since then? So since you first started going to the beach and you began picking up various pieces of driftwood and putting together old shipwreck pieces as well. How has it changed since then? What have you noticed yourself picking up more of or picking up less of? Or perhaps just the way that you've started traversing the length of beach? How has that changed?
Like that ritual remains the same, but what has changed is like if you look at the Archaeologies of Tomorrow, the exhibition, the
Mm-hmm.
2018 exhibition, that was more like with minimal intervention as far as the pieces were concerned. So
Mm-hmm.
what I wanted this whole archive, like a museum kind of an exhibit, where all aspects of the beach, how I have observed, are sort of the documentation of that is kind of put out for the public. So if you see, like, all these elements from the boat kitchen that I collected. There was
Yeah.
one area which was called the kitchen, and there was one which was the sort of the paint brushes that they paint with. I have a whole collection of those. So from rolling pins to paint brushes to like really abstract pieces, and those two I just made them into these totemic kind of objects. Like I just, without doing anything to the object, I just put it on a metal kind of
Mm-hmm.
pedestal. So, and then there was one section on sort of the whole death and decay, like this skulls and bones and things like that, and then the religious aspect of it, like how people, like this whole idea of burying things in the sea, like your Holy Quran and things like that. If they're like damaged, you just put them in a bag and in the sea. Either you bury them in ground or but they wash up also. So like
Because of the
all these
holiness of
aspects,
water
yeah.
and the
So
purity of it. Yeah.
so that exhibit was more about the documentation of all these things. Later, like this show which was called Beyond the Water, Ramra Ali curated that. Like I took like these carpenters' shims, that these triangular kind of blocks that they use to,
Hmm.
like the carpenters use to kind of adjust the levels, and I painted them in those colors of the boats, like the boats. The primary colors they use is this turquoise and blue. So I made these kind of modernist boats, like 20 of those out of the. So I started actually using uh, the wood as a material
Ah, okay.
rather than presenting it as is. So that is the sort of how it has kind of
And
evolved.
could you talk about the photo transfers on the rock that was not what I had thought? But anyway, I'd love to hear about that. What you were
Okay.
saying, photo transfers on concrete.
Yeah, so obviously beach is not the only thing I'm interested in, like
Yes.
the whole town and all. And then 2000, and I think end of 2018, I think November 1st, 2018, like the city government on the directive of the Supreme Court started this anti-encroachment drive in Karachi. And Empress Market, where I go first, I go to the beach on Sunday, then I go to Empress Market. That's also almost a
Part of your
ritual.
ritual.
Not
Yeah.
not as strong as the beach, but still is. So, so that area was heavily encroached upon, like with shops, but the shops had been there for 40, 50 years and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that, so I was there documenting all of that, like those big caterpillar machines breaking down things and all. It was
Oh
quite
God.
it was
Quite
like
traumatic.
war war scenes happening right there. Like it was quite a sort of spectacle. But
Mm.
so what I did was I picked up like pieces of concrete from those shops that had been sort of torn down. And I still have a big collection lying with me in bags, but I made like maybe 10 or 12 pieces out of that. And the images I transferred are like images from those times where while the sort of this destruction was happening. So it's the what do you call it, the material that they had used, which was primarily concrete, but also I transferred only on concrete, but in the installation I had put like other material like marble from the floor, there's stucco and there's terracotta and like terrazzo and these things. So I had like all these
An ode,
sort of
essentially.
material evidence was also there, not just the photographic evidence. This was also there, and the transfer process, I do it manually with this acrylic gel. So it's basically a dry print which I sort of transfer onto the thing. In fact, Fuji, Pakistan, they do a very good job of like printing on any surface you want, whether it's stone or wood or wood. So they told me that they are getting so many kind of inquiries about my work and how they printed it. So they were saying we didn't print it, someone else did. So I told them that I did it myself. But you see, if you do it manually, there's this chance of uh, these sort of blemishes happening. There's always, you don't know what will come out of the thing, like after you kind of remove the backing. So that human element
Yeah.
is very, very evident in that, rather than
It
just
also makes
like
it
a
more
machine.
enjoyable. You
Of
don't
course,
really know what you're going to get. It's more chance and luck based,
exactly.
like
And
life.
and I think chance and luck is also like the thing I encounter at the beach also,
For
because
sure.
I don't know what I'm going to get, and I don't go with that kind of frame of mind. Yeah, I have to get like a big uh, column or a big blank or this or that. It just happens, and every week I get something, which is kind of not like there are no PSD resistance every week, but there are interesting.
You get little gifts from the ocean every week. How
Yeah,
special.
yeah,
And
that
how
is that's the
fortunate
thing.
to be in that position.
And like when my like the solo happened, like a lot of my friends say, so now you're not going to go to the beach. Is it over now? Like it wasn't a sort of a culmination. It was basically a pause to kind of look back and see, okay, what I've done in the past 8 years, basically. And then that was the
Wow.
point to move on again. And that's what I did. So as long as the dogs are there, I think I go. And I'm not sort of greedy that because it's close by, I can go on a Monday and a Tuesday and evening or morning, but I only go Sunday morning. Even if I'm passing by, I would never stop to look for anything. So if
You
something
like
is
that routine, yeah.
if something is there Sunday morning when the dogs are there, I'll pick it up. Otherwise,
Otherwise, it's not
yeah,
yours to take
I
in a
don't want
sense.
it. Yeah, maybe someone else can. And there are other takers also, like these people
Really?
who, yeah, there are many people who pick it up. Like with me also, they've done it and they use it as firewood and things like that. So
And what about the fishermen who you took the pieces to? Do they often come and do the same thing now?
if they're there at night, so they collect them and they make like kind of a bonfire there, because I go Sunday
Okay.
morning and I see like all these charred pieces of wood. Other than that, like that is also like a major aspect which I have not. Maybe I would be working on it in the future, because I found this map from like I think it's from 1890, a British map of Karachi, and the last place on the sort of the south side is Gizri, which is right here. So Gizri, and it also says that it's a sanitarium, like for people suffering from tuberculosis and all
Okay.
that. So they had, because Gizri is a hill,
Hmm.
and obviously the creek being here, clean air and all of that, and how we have kind of sort of made them literally mushroomed them on an island, and this whole development has come about on like all sides. And they 1990 they were promised that, because they were considered like illegal on their own land which they've been living on for hundreds of years probably. And so in 1990, the new elected government promised them that they will be given lease papers, which was like a gift from the government, although they were rightful owners of the land, this entire land. And so half of them were given, and the other half is still kind of waiting for
It's
their.
still waiting. Oh God.
And this was a major fishing village, and they were on a hill, and like downhill you went down to the creek. Now, with this whole housing, the DHA and all of that, they have blocked off all access to the sea, all access. Like there's hotels and golf courses and marinas and clubs and whatnot. So this entire stretch, because they can't kind of dock their boats here. So this is the only stretch that remains, although it's kind of like an open sea. But on the sort of the south side or east side of that, this development that is happening, like this big developer from Dubai is making this huge sort of fancy housing with first private beaches in Karachi, and they were actually like Dubai. They have made these kind of that whole area is called Crescent Bay, and they've made these crescents. So there are 3 or 4 crescents which are private beaches. So once it like is occupied and all, I'm sure like these fishermen, I don't know if they'll be welcome to come there and kind of. Uh,
Poor things. How
yeah,
tragic.
it is. It really is.
So
Like,
even more is then being taken away from them.
so
Like more of their
that last
ocean.
remaining opening to the sea, and like over, I think over many years, they're not like big fishermen anymore. They come on their bicycles like in groups, and they catch and like from the beach. So it's not like big. They're catching big sort of fish. It's for
Yeah.
their own consumption. Maybe they sell some, but it's primarily for their own. It's somewhere between being professional and hobby, like somewhere in the middle, but it's not completely. So yeah, so that is. Oh, we were talking about the concrete photo transfer.
No, but I'm finding this so far, and I'm very upset because I think we're almost out of time, and
Oh really?
I know, and I have so much more to ask you, and I feel as though, well, shall we open it up to questions, and then maybe we can do a
What time
catch up
is it?
another time.
Yeah, we can.
It's
Are there any
10.
questions?
Yes, let's do. Does anybody have any questions? It always takes a second. Oh God, I can't even see. So let's try. Oh, so someone was asking, what particular qualities do you identify when picking found objects for your artworks? We sort of discussed this in great detail, but if you'd like to give any more specifics.
Like, I would only pick pieces of wood, no matter what shape or size, and some any other kind of boat related thing. All the other things like religious artifacts and things like that, I only document in photographs. I don't bring them over. So yeah.
Okay, let me scroll through further. How has the pandemic hindered your practice, as your practice encompasses interaction with people and places? I would say it's probably relatively.
Yeah, I couldn't go to the beach for the longest, and they had blocked off, like cordoned off all the entrances to, but I found this long way around, and
Oh.
I go there, and it's an eerie feeling because nobody's there and it's very, very quiet and all that. Then police comes and they say that, why aren't you coming? Like, it's your beach and your dogs must be
Oh.
feeling that. And I've never encountered the police. I've never like had any conversations with them, but they must have known. And like, I get identified by the dogs a lot of times.
Oh,
So
that's so nice.
so yeah,
So they're
but I
welcoming you
wasn't going.
back.
Like a few months, I didn't go, and then so that is how the pandemic kind of. Another thing that I do is like I drive around. If I'm not walking, I drive around. So during the pandemic, I was driving around and taking pictures a lot. So it it didn't really affect me in any way. In fact, like the initial lockdown and all, I actually enjoyed the sort of the quiet and less
The
traffic.
change of routine as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. Do let me know if you see any questions because I'm just going backwards now.
I'm not.
Um,
I can't see any sort of like you see those things.
Someone's asking, what is the most peculiar thing that you have come across?
Good question. Like certain like one day I found like 6 big size marine turtles washed up. So dead, like kind of they must have died in the sea or for whatever reason, and they had. So that was that was peculiar. Like it was unfortunate also, but uh, one or two like occasional sort of carcass kind of coming up is natural because there's a, but so many of them coming and like big size ones. So I thought that there was a sort of some disease or something that is kind of hitting them or what. So that other than that, feel there's some sort of I don't know if it's black magic or what. I see these big like thoroughbred roosters
Hmm.
being slaughtered and just thrown on the beach, like not in the water, like over the sea wall. I
Sand.
see that a lot happening. So
Oh,
that I
interesting.
still have to kind of decipher what exactly it is, but that so
So do you often do research into the objects that you find, if you find, I don't know, an identification number, or if you notice that a lot of objects have very similar carvings or whatever, do you sort of connect them to different ships or circumstances?
like mostly like the pieces of boats. Like for
Mm.
example, like the project I did for the Biennale, like the 2019 Biennale, Karachi Biennale. The one like there were all these swings there, like the whole installation of made of
Yes.
one big plank which was like good 7 or 8 feet wide and maybe 3 or 4 inches thick and was like this tapered beautiful like I had to hire a Suzuki to get it from the beach.
Oh, wow.
It was that heavy. But I was so excited. I took a picture and I went straight to the boat building thing. And it was actually the entire rudder of a big trawler. Like the
Oh,
rudder they
amazing.
used, the entire
Yeah.
rudder. So that was a find and a half for me. I thought like, and it coming as is without any damage. Like
That's pretty
all the chains
incredible.
and the metal bands that are there, so the marks were very visible because the metal, although it had sort of long, sort of detached itself from the wood, but it had left some rust marks, and the holes were there. So it's quite beautiful piece.
That sounds absolutely fascinating. So yeah, I'm so sorry, but I'm worried that Instagram is going to get rid of us, and I'm actually surprised that it hasn't already.
Oh, really?
But
It is a one
yeah,
hour thing. Oh,
usually it's a 1 hour thing, but it seems to not have done anything, and I'm just concerned that then sometimes it just explodes and
it just,
everything disappears. So thank you so much for this. This has been it has been such a pleasure to listen to this. I can't tell you how fascinating it is. And I can't wait to come to Karachi and meet you properly and hear more of these stories. And perhaps you let me accompany you to the beach one day. That'd
definitely
be an
anytime.
absolute joy. And thank you, everybody who tuned in and asked questions. And I'm so sorry if we didn't have time to get to them or I couldn't read them because, my eyes are being weird right now. But thank you so much, everybody. And thank you for this
Thank you,
wonderful
Zahra. Thank you for
conversation.
inviting me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.